Greetings, friends! Steven here, and welcome back to the CAPMAX MOVIECAST. This is our first recording of 2020 in podcast form. What episode is this? This is episode 3. Apparently the last one I recorded was in October. Just feels like last week, though, I'll tell you what. Our recording date is February the 19th, 2020. It's a Wednesday. I'm here with Duke. Duke, how's it going?
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. We had a bit of a delay to get this recording going, but it finally happened, and we are fiddling with Skype for this, and hopefully it does not crash. We're crossing our fingers and toes here, but Skype can be iffy, but hopefully it works. I used to record these via the Google Hangouts feature on YouTube, but apparently that's gone now. And I know our friends at STC Pod have been fiddling with, was it Stream Deck or something? But
yeah, something like that.
I haven't tried that out yet, and I figured we'd give Skype a go, hoping for the best. But anyways, this is my movie and TV show, and we could even mention a video game or two if we want to. But it's mostly stuff we just watch. No playing, just watching. Podcast, and for this episode we thought it'd be fun to talk about the movie Prometheus. That's quite the movie. You like that movie, Duke?
Yes, I do. I also don't like it though.
Ooh.
So
Ooh, spicy.
We'll get into that.
We shall indeed. All right, so as mentioned, I haven't recorded any kind of podcast in months. I was on Retro Film Dango not too long ago, so that was sort of me getting back in the groove of things. But we'll do what we can. I've got pages of notes in front of me. I'm trying to remember how the routine of the show goes. Well, let's start by talking to Duke a bit. Duke, tell the folks a bit about who you are and where they can find you on the social medias and on the YouTubes and this and that, if you would be so kind.
Sure. I am actively involved in the Cartridge Club and on Twitter. I am at Duke0619, and I have a YouTube channel called Retro Nonsense.
Okay. Did your video with Kevin disappear recently, by the way?
I had a little scare this morning. I uploaded my new Stuck in the 80s episode with special guest star Buried on Mars. And when I woke up this morning, it had 6 copyright claims attached to it.
Nice.
And of course, I freaked out, and the video was blocked. Like, people couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And this is all, as I'm getting ready for work, I'm dealing with this. And my heart just sank. I put a lot of time into this one, and I had Kevin on there and everything. And I was able to dispute all of the claims, which instantly makes it available again. And in my mind, I thought I was just buying time, and inevitably it'll be blocked. But sure enough, later on in the day, I got an email from YouTube, and all 6 claims were reversed. So it's all in the clear now. That was an exciting little event concerning my little video that I put out. So yeah, it should be all in the clear now. Everything's clear, I think.
I was looking for it last night. When you're in those, it's before bed. Like, I could sure watch a random video right now. I was like, hey, Duke uploaded a video. Let's watch the Duke video. And then it's like, nope, wasn't there. I thought it was one of those things where, how sometimes like portable devices will not have the video show up, but they will on the computers. So it's the thing. It's like a glitch with YouTube. It's like, I couldn't see your video, and then you got to hit the bell or whatever. I thought it was one of those situations, but yeah. The video just wasn't there at all. So that was...
Yeah, it was... I've never had that happen before. I've had some, emails stating that you've got copyrighted like music or something, and it just means you can't monetize, which I don't monetize my channel anyway. But I've never had one blocked where nobody could see it. So I was really freaking out. But yeah, I mean, I give YouTube, the system, some kudos, because within a few hours, they reversed all of those claims, because I disputed them under fair use. Like, I'm just commentating on these, clips from these old TV shows, and that was my argument. And yeah, they said, okay, yeah, you're right. So I was very happy to see that happen.
Did it say who was claiming the content?
Yeah, it was whoever owns, I guess, the rights to the Knight Rider series. I don't remember off the top of my head who it was,
but it was like a real company, not just like some random name from.
No, it was here it is right here. It's ADR. Oh no, that's something else. I don't know. It was like,
It wasn't
Fox or
like
something like that.
CBS or Fox or yeah.
Here it is. NBC Universal has decided to release the copyright claim on your video. So
Hmm.
NBC Universal. Yeah.
Damn, it sounds like a big corporation.
Oh yeah.
Almost as big as Wayland Yutani, but we'll get there.
Almost.
Yeah, those guys are claiming your copyrights. Get
Oh, I'd
low.
be screwed. Yeah.
Send the robots after you. Get loud. Oh man, my notes got all mixed up. What the heck? Hold on. Let me just there. Okay. They're all the same page. I should have numbered these notes. Don't worry about that. Alright, well that's good. So it's back on the YouTubes then. Good. Yeah. It's always a trouble. Always a bit of a headache with YouTube in the year 2020.
Yeah.
You add
It's very
any
different
yeah.
than it used to be. It was, even when I started, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. It was very different. It's really changed over the last decade, especially.
That's what happens when they add the money into the equation. There should be like I'm not looking to I'm not looking for money, just let me do whatever. I won't charge.
Yeah, exactly.
If that was an option, just boom, be good.
But as
But
long as it works, I'm still enjoying that. A lot of people get out of it, but I really enjoy making videos. It's a good creative outlet for me, and I'm still having fun with it. So.
And you said before we started that you don't even use a computer, right? It's all done on your phone.
Always has been. Yeah, I've always used my iPhone and my iPad for my videos.
Crazy.
Yep.
Well, whatever gets you done, right? It's probably easier.
Yeah. For me, it is.
Cool. All right. Well, that is Duke. And of course, I'm Steven. Everyone, thanks for listening to this latest episode of the CAPMAX MovieCast. This is episode 3. Now, I was looking at my my Podomatic page here, and I'm thinking it was over a year ago that I recorded because it says episode 2 came out on October 11th. But I'm thinking, because then the episode after that of the CAPMAX HYPECAST, episode 28, was February 26th, which I'm guessing was last year, which means the MovieCast came out 2 years ago? Yeah, damn. Where does the time go, Duke? It's crazy. Crazy.
You're slacking.
Yeah, I'll say. It's hard.
The internet, we need hype out there. There's not enough hype.
I know. I uploaded a video last night on YouTube. Crazy. It's on a weird toy I bought. But yeah, okay. Well, that's more or less our intros. What else we see? Anything else in the start? Check me out on Twitter at Steven Eider, Steven with a V, EIDHER. Check out my YouTube channel, CAPMAX Gaming. And that's about it. I don't really stream anymore. I could, it's hard. And of course, the podcast, which is available exclusively on Podomatic, because I never bothered to look at any other sites, and they'll want money, which sucks. So I'll probably upload the audio format without copywritten music on the YouTube channel. And maybe the version with it will be on Podomatic.
Well, if you get a copyright claim, just let me know and I'll take care of it for you.
There you go. Send you. But yeah, it's not worth it. I don't even add music in my videos anymore for the most part. It's just too much of a kerfuffle. I don't like the new upload screen. Maybe you don't see it on the phone, but they changed the upload process, and I couldn't even tell if my video was actually uploaded yet. I don't like that. Oh, stupid changes. Never good. It's always bad.
Nope.
Ugh. Anyways, let's move on with the show. So it's time for, I guess it's not what you've been playing, what you've been watching. It's what you've been watching. And Duke was going to tell us a bit about the Joker movie.
Yeah, I guess briefly. I just, since it's fresh in my head, I watched it a couple of weekends ago. And I know you saw it too.
That's true.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I had some issues with it. How did you like it, Steven?
It was all right. I don't like this notion that we have to feel bad for the Joker, because I don't think that's what the character's about.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's where it was a little unsettling. Is there's no, you almost like he's the only character in the film, so there's nobody to root against. So he's kind of like the protagonist, but he's the bad guy. So it's a little, there's no balance, like there's no good guy in it. And if he kind of, you kind of forget you're watching the movie and he's kind of the good guy in a sense, but he's the bad guy. So it's kind of a weird, you get a little unsettling feeling with how to feel about it because you sympathize with him, but he's also a murderer. So it was a little kind of
Yeah, that was American self-defense, though. I saw it. Yeah, those hooligans on the subway.
Yeah, so I mean, you gotta say, I mean, the acting was fantastic. I thought it was very cleverly written for the most part. I kept my interest. I was, kind of intrigued by it. I know Kevin Barrett on Mars. We just spoke about him in my last video.
Mm-hmm.
He had some things to say about it. He didn't like it that much at all, I don't think. I don't agree with his assessment fully, but I see where he's coming from about some of his, I guess, issues, more political or social level with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
it's
certainly a lot of discussion to be had,
Don't worry about that guy. He loves disagreements. It gives him strength.
Well, I think his biggest gripe that he seemed to pinpoint was that he didn't like the notion that mentally ill equals bad guy. And I kind of get his point, but I think the emphasis wasn't so much that he was mentally ill, therefore he's bad, but I think they were using his mental illness more of a tool to further the plot of the class warfare. So I think it wasn't that he was taking pills and needed the pills, and that's why he's crazy. It was that he had the pills taken away from him by the system, and that further kind of, and I thought that was very, very clever how they kind of took that theme of Batman making the Joker into that area where the rich or Bruce Waynes of the world didn't care about the lower class, and that's kind of what created the Joker in a sense. So I think it was more that they were trying to emphasize that the system took away what he needed and kind of trampled him down, more than that he was a crazy person that needed medication and he must be a bad guy. So I didn't really take that from what they were trying to do with it. So I didn't fully agree with Kevin's take on that, but yeah, I get where he's coming from. The whole thing's a little uncomfortable, and I don't.
Yeah, well, that's the point.
Would have been better. Yeah, exactly. I think it would have been a better film if it wasn't about the Joker. Honestly, I still don't like.
Wait a minute.
I'm old school, and I don't like fully. I mean, I'm interested in it. Obviously, I watched it and I enjoyed it on some level, but I still have a hard time watching hard R movies about comic book characters. It's still, I can't get my brain to fully accept that. This is a goofy, silly bad guy that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And this portrayal of him is very dark and serious and sad and just, it's hard to kind of make those things kind of reconcile with each other. So that's where it kind of it falls off for me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was neat. I mean, he doesn't really have an origin story to begin with. It's not one as concrete as with Bruce Wayne, with the whole crime alley, criminals shoot the parents, and then he spends the rest of his life being angsty about it and enjoying his 1%ness. What a character. I like the Joker. Joker's a good guy. I was drinking my coffee here.
I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was well done, but I did take some issue with it, and it didn't leave me feeling that great afterwards. But I had to appreciate the quality of it, the acting. I thought it was cleverly written, but yeah, there were some things that were off about it. So that's my take on the Joker.
Certainly. They kept him more realistic, I think, as opposed to like the, running around, crazy plots, all sorts of, schemes and outrageous props and things. Like, this is much more down to earth.
Sure, of course. Right.
Yeah, I dug the movie. Have you seen the movie Super? That's what it reminded me of.
Is that the one that Fandango was talking about with the guy from The Office?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
That's a good movie. If you like Joker, you'll definitely like that. I think it was very similar but better.
Huh. Wow.
Well, for one thing, there's no already defined character that they're kind of like rebooting.
Right.
Like this Joker is not the Joker I would ever consider being the Joker. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's one person's interpretation of a character that already exists.
Sure. But
with Super, as far as I know, there was no nothing to really work off of. So it was an original idea, but similar ideas. Just like dude has a shitty life, and world treats him like trash, and he fights back. And
I'll
yeah,
have to check
Super was
that
awesome.
out. Okay, I'll definitely check it out.
So if you like Joker, you'll like this. You'll like Super a whole lot too, I think.
I also, unlike Kevin, I did like Robert De Niro's performance in that. I thought he did that role very well, actually. Kevin said he could have had anybody in there, but I really like what he did with that character, to be honest with you.
Oh, you can be honest.
Can I? Okay.
Yes. Whew. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think. Yeah, it was kind of a throwaway role. I mean, he's just talk show host guy. Which actually kind of reminded me of I think it was The Dark Knight Returns. Have you seen or read that? The one where it's like future Batman.
Oh, heck yeah, I love
they're
that.
both old.
Love
Because
that
remember
graphic novel.
he goes on a talk show there as well and has a similar outcome.
Yes.
Of course, by that point, he's already definitely a more established Joker character versus this one, who's still just Arthur Fleck or Affleck. I don't know why they felt the need to put that in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, neat movie. Definitely worth checking out. Definitely something that could be a future movie cast episode.
Oh yeah, lots to talk about with that one for sure.
Certainly. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I think that's it.
All right. I've only got a couple here I wanted to mention. First was on Amazon Prime. I was watching the show James May, Our Man in Japan. Not too long ago on Twitter, I was bugging our friend who lives in Japan, Richard, about there being a town in Japan where, because the population left, to go to the big cities and all that, this town just kind of emptied out. And I think they said there was only 27 people left in the town. And one of them just, I don't know. It's Japan. They're like, you know what? I'm going to fill the town with scarecrows. So all these buildings and parks and things and benches and whatnot are just now they have a scarecrow of a person on them, and it's like this really weird, spooky scene. And it's like it's kind of like that joke. I know you probably don't know. There's this commercial where there's this American guy that comes to Canada and he's like, "Hey, do you know Jeff?" Who? Jeff? Yeah, Jeff. He lives in Canada. Like this notion that every Canadian knows every other Canadian,
right?
And that's kind of the mentality I was coming at with Richard. It's like, so you've been to that town that's all scarecrows, right? And of course, Richard had no idea because Richard never leaves his house.
Right.
He lives in Japan, like the most interesting place, and he's clearly never done anything, and it's infuriating. And Joe is absolutely right. I too want to hear more Japan stories, but clearly Richard isn't doing anything in his time in Japan. But it is what it is, And we're back. Okay, so we just had our first crash / foible with Skype. What do you think happened there, Duke?
I changed my earbuds and it ended the call. I don't know why.
Okay.
So I take full responsibility for that nonsense. So
well,
sorry.
Hopefully we did get to save our recording there, so we're continuing. So what were we talking about? We're talking about James May, Our Man in Japan.
Yeah.
And Richard not doing anything with this time in Japan, pissing everyone off. Anyways, this show is about a guy named James May, who I believe is the guy from that. Those? Oh God, what are those shows called? There's like 3 British guys and they drive cars, and that's the whole show.
I have no idea.
Hold on, I'm gonna look up James May. He's on Top Gear. Yeah, he was one of the guys from Top Gear, which was like the UK's #1 show about cars.
Mm.
And I don't know why he is so buddy. Actually, no, I do know why. Because the Top Gears continued on Amazon Prime, I think, or a show similar to it. And I don't know. James May, this British old guy, is just really close with Amazon Prime. And for some reason, they're like, hey, let's send you to Japan and we'll make a show of it. And he's like, okay. And that's what happened. And it's just him. He starts from the top of Japan and he just drives to the bottom of Japan. And that's a show.
Mm.
And it's pretty neat. Like, he starts off at the snowy north and he goes dog sledding. And at the end, he's like at the more tropical southern end, which I believe is where Rich is.
Mm.
And yeah, it's just if you like Japan and don't want to spend the money to go yourself, you can watch this guy have a budget from Amazon and just do a bunch of random stuff. It's pretty neat.
Go.
Goes to, all the places, Kyoto, Osaka, Tokyo. Like at one point he's hanging out with some train nerds and he gets to talk to the guy that writes the jingles for every train station. So every time a train stops at a station in Japan, you hear a little song, so you know that the train is there. So he gets to talk to the guy that writes all the jingles.
This is like a reality type show or documentary. It's not a written show, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
kind of improv, but obviously he's they've got all these people he meets. You know, they knew he was coming.
Right.
So he has his own song written on his name. He goes, James May Sumimasen. It's cute. Which basically means I'm sorry or excuse me, because that's what he says all the time. Because, you know, he's like the ignorant white guy in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And like he goes to the Yamaha factory and watches them make pianos, or he goes to Honda and watches them make motorcycles. You know, does all these random things. It's a fun show. Once I was done with it, I was done with Amazon Prime though, and I stopped my payment of that. I only honestly had that Prime on for maybe a week because I only want it because sometimes they'll give you skins for Apex Legends, my current favorite video game. So it's like, give us money, we'll give you these skins for those characters. I'm like, yay, my characters look neat and unique. And I get Amazon Prime, but there's not much to watch on Prime Video. So I watched the one show I wanted to watch, and then you can cancel it, and they give you some money back if you cancel early. So that's good. And unfortunately, Canadian Amazon, just the deals aren't that good. I was looking, but there's really nothing I wanted there. So cancel it, moved on. I did move on to Netflix though, because Netflix has the other thing I'm going to mention, which is Dragon Quest: Your Story. And this is I don't think Netflix paid for it, but it does call itself a Netflix anime movie, so maybe they did. I don't know the details. But long story short, it's basically a CG movie version of the game Dragon Quest V, which is arguably the best Dragon Quest. But now instead of it being like an 80-hour JRPG experience, it's now maybe an hour and a half movie.
I was going to say that must be a JRPG because I don't know much about it.
I would say if you've had any interest in Dragon Quest, you could watch this movie and get a taste of what you're missing out on. It's certainly going to take you less time than an actual Dragon Quest game. It was good. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was a twist near the end, so it is more than simply a retelling of Dragon Quest V. I will say no more than that, but it was cool. One thing that kind of bugs me is there's this one part in the game / movie where you get to pick basically your wife for the game. And in the original game on the Super Famicom, aka Super Nintendo, you could pick between one of two characters. You either pick like this rich girl or your childhood friend, and you know, whichever one you pick, like your. Actually, I won't even go any further than that because that's a spoiler. It's a cool spoiler, so I won't say anything. But I will say that in the DS remake of the game, there was a third girl who is the sister of the rich girl, and she does not appear in this movie. And I'm outraged because that was my favorite one. God damn it, the secret one wasn't in the movie. It's like, why would you not put her in the movie? I guess she doesn't count. You know, purists and all. It gotta be the original. It's like, oh. Well-de-da. Anyways, otherwise, it's a cool flick. Check it out if you like Dragon Quest, or at least are Dragon Quest curious. Okay, and that's our warm-up for which been watching, which means it's time to talk Prometheus. Duke, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I've been ready. Hopefully not going to crash any more times. Hopefully, because that just means more editing for me. But yeah, let's get going. So right off the bat, you were saying earlier that you have a love-hate relationship with this movie?
Yes. I more love it than hate it. I will say that. I'm, as most people know, and I know you know, I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, especially the ones that Ridley Scott has done, but also the James Cameron one as well. So I saw this in the theater. Very, very eager. I could not wait. In fact, I was very pleased to be able to do all the hype to use a word, for the movie with all those little internet snippets they had. What do you call those? You know what I'm talking about? Where you could watch like interviews with the characters, and you can kind of get some world building and character development before you even go see the movie. Yeah. Did you do any of that before the movie came out?
I don't think I did. It was a while ago. I don't even remember. I'm sure it was on Twitter at the time. Feels like something.
That was very. very eager to see this film. I was so glad to see Ridley Scott back at the helm as director, and I was very, very excited to check this out. And I was really getting hyped for it, watching all those vignettes, or whatever you want to call them, those little internet videos and little fake commercials and stuff like that. It was really cool. So leaving the theater, I remember thinking, I really liked it. But upon further viewings, and there were some things about it in my initial watch that I was like, that was kind of a plot hole, or this is kind of a bad, written kind of poorly, stuff like that. But overall, I think what I think is more pronounced, or what stands out the most to me, are the tone, the visuals, David's character, some of the good acting. I think it was enough to make me say I like this movie. In fact, it's a tell that I've seen it like 7 or 8 times. So I like it enough to keep going back to it. But it's one of those movies that I just like to watch more than anything, just for the visuals. It's beautiful. And the big, sprawling, wide shots of the ship exploring the planet. I just love that kind of sci-fi stuff. I'm a huge sci-fi buff. So just all those elements of the film really drew me in, and kind of solidly, for me, make it a film that I will go back to. And there is a lot there to find and to study, and there's a lot of nuances there that are fun to kind of dig into. But along with that are some really poor writing and character development that just cringe. You kind of cringe when you watch it over and over. So, do you have a similar feel towards it? What's your overall take on it?
Yeah, I like the movie. It's definitely more spin-off than prequel, I feel, because it's really it's definitely going in a different direction than the I guess 4 Alien movies did. Obviously, there's no Ripley's or anything. There's no xenomorphs either, really.
Right.
You get a proto facehugger thing at the end, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's kind of like, I can see it's just, they're watching the original movies and like, you know what, we got a budget, we can do something. Prequels are hot. What can we talk about that hasn't been shown off? Well, there's these weird giant people. They use all this random art from H.R. Geiger to make the original look cool. Maybe we could do something with that. So, okay, that'd be fun. And it's basically all that. Like, it's not even, like, it's like they don't even mention Alien in the name. It's like Alien Prometheus.
Right.
Unlike the sequel, which does fearfully return to Alien to the title.
Yep.
Understandably so. But yeah, on its own, it's a neat flick. It's about, trying to figure out where humanity came from. And there's this fun notion of, it's like they're trying to figure out who built them, but they have David, the android, who's pretty much already met who built him. And, David's got his issues with people. It's clearly, like, you don't, like, everyone's kind of a dick to him, and I think maybe that's why he's kind of a dick in return, but, like, they imply that he doesn't feel certain emotions, but he clearly feels different emotions. And then we won't really touch on the sequel, but, like, clearly he's got a few screws loose.
Well, that's some of the deep stuff that I really appreciate, and that's where some of the writing was fantastic, was you really don't know. Is he acting on his own ambitions, or is he doing what Wayland's telling him? Or is he, so all those kind of vague questions that you have, I think, to me, that's where it's good. It's like, why is David doing that? Because you can kind of see, maybe it's for this, maybe it's for that. You don't really know. And like you said, you kind of do find out in the sequel to Prometheus, which I thought was fantastic. We're not going to talk about that movie, but
we can next time, though.
There's a lot that's really, really good and really thought out, and then there's stuff just thrown in there. You're shaking your head at, like, why is this seem like I'm watching like a cheap TV show in 1 minute, and another minute I'm like watching this kind of really deep kind of film. So,
did he really take his helmet off? Okay, so
if you want to talk about, I guess, some of the stuff I didn't like, since we're kind of touching on that already. So, I love Ridley Scott. He's one of my, if not my favorite director, but I do often see his weaknesses, and where he's most weak is his character development, and sometimes the plot isn't always as solid. Like his first movie, Alien, is a masterpiece to me. That's where all the cogs are turning and everything's kind of jiving right. You have these characters they're slowly fleshed out. And it seems very organic. And then this one, it's like the writing is just, and I think the guy that wrote Lost, right? Isn't he one of the writers of Prometheus? What's his name?
Is that J.J. Abrams?
No.
Is that who it is?
David
John
Lindoff? David Lindoff, is that it?
Damon Lindelof?
David Lindoff, I
No,
think.
Damon.
I don't know.
I'm
It's Damon.
Damon.
Oh, you're looking at okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway, I think that you can kind of see where he was doing some of the writing versus. I don't know how much Ridley Scott had his hand in writing the screenplay. I think it was probably more just the director.
Yeah.
But you can see the difference in the writing, and that's where some of the weaknesses came in for me. Was like the characters were just so cliche, and some of the scenes were like so forced and kind of cheesy. Like right off the bat, they're trying to establish instead of by showing, by telling. This is the grumpy character. This is the silly character. This is, it was just too kind of forced, and that's where you kind of fall out of the film a little bit for me. Like the guy with the red hair and the beard. What was his name? He's this aggressively angry guy, and he's just like over the top for no reason. It's just so stupid. Like when the scientist sits down to talk to him, he's Fifield. Yeah, Fifield. He's like, I don't like anybody. Leave me alone. I'm here for the money. It's like, give me a break. In like 2 sentences, instead of showing this character be like that, they're just telling you that he's like this. So that was just cheap writing to me.
Some definitely gruff characters. I think maybe that's kind of a theme of the Alien movies. Like they're always like, it's always got that space trucker feel to it. Like these aren't scientists. These are just like gruff people who live in a future.
Right.
But can be in these positions.
Right, and that works so well in Alien, but they tried too hard in this to mimic that, I think, and it really came across as like just a cliche or kind of watered down to me.
Yeah, he has his buddy. Milburn, is it? I've got the names here. So.
Milburn, yeah, he's a scientist guy, and he's another dumb character.
Sort of. Like, I mean, they you never really see them do any kind of science. They're just.
Well, he's like the animal guy.
I've got these robot orbs that make barking noises, and I howl back at them. And so I'm a map guy. Then I get lost real quick, and then the biology guy, oh hey, a space cobra. I'm gonna put my hand right in front of it.
Right, another dumb scene.
Right?
I mean, even just his initial reaction to seeing his first alien ever on some foreign planet was like he was seeing like a cute squirrel or something. Like, hey guy, hey. He wasn't like, oh my gosh, what is that? He was just like, hey, cute little thing. Hey, let me touch you. We've been trained to quarantine if we, touch anything, but I'm going to touch you and grab. It was just stupid.
There's none of that.
Just dumb writing. It's like they wrote that scene just to have that action sequence take place instead of really thinking about how the character would.
You can't have a movie if everyone does things properly.
Yeah, but it was just they could have progressed in a little more natural direction, though. It was just
a little too. No time. We got to move this thing along. We got to touch some weird space penis thing coming out.
Right.
We got to put our hand right up in there. They really hate it when I do this. Poke right in there. Oh wow.
Yeah. Some of that stuff was just dumb, and like the guy smoking a bowl in his suit. How long would it take him to set that up? It was just offer that one little laughable line. Yeah. Just stupid stuff like that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But again, there's so much about it that I like that it certainly overshadows the stuff I didn't like. And again, going back to the in-depth stuff, with David's character, the black goo. Is another thing that it's so mysterious, and this version of it does this, and this version of it does that, and what's it really doing, and how does all this work? All that stuff I think is so cool. You can really dig into all that and really have a lot of fun entering into this whole world and how all this stuff works. And they don't give you all the answers, and I love that in a film where you got to kind of put a little bit of yourself in there, your own kind of thoughts and wonder. So I really like that aspect of the film as well.
Mm-hmm. We never do get an answer either. I think what's in the poster is like questions will be answered. And it's like, no. We never get answers. They literally, the movie's them trying to find answers, and no, there's no answers. The giant man would rather just kick their ass for no particular reason.
Well, I think some of the what they were, I think, alluding to with that tagline was like the space jockey. You kind of finally now you're going to see the space jockey. Mm-hmm. Or their race or whatever, and what that thing was in Alien, that kind of stuff. I think that's what they were alluding to. But I think that tagline was just to draw in the Alien crowd, because outside of those little nuances, it wasn't much of, it was kind of loosely tied to the Alien franchise, which I liked. I liked that it was going in a different direction. It wasn't just another movie with a xenomorph running around killing people. I really liked that a lot.
Ballsy. But then it also is balls for the sequel, clearly.
Yes.
And that's understandable. Once again, got to make that money.
Yeah.
It's too bad. Like I was talking about The Fifth Element last night. Another one of my favorite movies. It's just that's just the movie. It just comes out of nowhere. Just boom. Yep. New idea.
Yep.
New concepts. Enjoy this madness. It's out of control. It's all over the place. And it's awesome movie.
Loved it. Love that movie. I've seen that like 10 times at least.
Fantastic movie. Clearly, recast worthy as well. But it's another day. Another night.
For sure.
But I don't think it did all that well. It's so tricky because you can tell they want to give us original stories, but at the same time, the original stories don't do so well. Like, did you see Valerian?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Really? Well, same idea though. Once again,
it was the same guy. It was the same guy that did The Fifth Element. But I didn't like the characters that much. That boy and that girl just didn't have any chemistry.
I think that's based on a comic, and they were definitely meant to be like older. Like they seem maybe too young and unknown.
Yeah.
And like we're supposed to believe these people are like super great at their careers, but they seem like they would just be like
they're like
recruits,
Right.
But that's a different movie once again for a different discussion. But I really like that movie too. I just liked it once again. Just this big slab of sci-fi crazy colors and ideas. Just splat. Here you go. Enjoy that. You're like, yeah.
And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think it worked really well with The Fifth Element. It was just so wacky for the time, just so offbeat in a good way. And I think Valeria, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Valerium. That tried to do the same thing, and to me, it just didn't connect as well. But Bruce Willis has so much charisma. I mean, he carried that film so well. And these two newer, younger actors just didn't carry the film very well.
That's true. Rihanna's there. She's a shape-shifting alien.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She's a name. She was in Battleship. Did you see Battleship?
Was she? I did not.
It's not bad, actually.
Really?
It's kind of like Independence Day, but on the ocean.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah. But anyways, let's go back to me.
Yes.
Okay, so normally in the 2 episodes of this show that I've done, we kind of just go through the entire movie, and I've got 4 pages of notes here, and there's a whole bunch of stuff we can get through. So we might as well just go through that, and we'll throw our thoughts out as we move along.
Yeah, let's go.
With the story. So clearly, spoiler alert.
Oh yeah.
We did not spoil other movies mentioned, like Joker. We didn't spoil Joker. There's not much to spoil, or we didn't spoil Dragon Quest. But if you're worried about Prometheus spoilers, we're going to talk about the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so this movie starts with a tall alien man who's on... That's Earth, right? It's like early Earth?
Presumably, yes. Yes, that's the whole point, yeah.
So he drinks his little sake cup of the black goo, and the concept, as I understand, is basically this breaks down his DNA and reforms it to basically create all life on Earth. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's the whole concept of he was a seed for life on Earth.
Sure. And
through the biological engineering that they were masters of, and this sacrificial, ceremonial kind of thing, he, for whatever reason, was the one selected or volunteered maybe to seed the Earth with his life.
Damn. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I was like, it's not such a bad thing. I mean, he's clear of the prime of his life. He's a buff super dude, and then he's got to die this painful death as his body just breaks apart and reforms into umpteen different critters in return. But
cool scene. I mean, the opening of this film was beautiful and eerie and kind of just so unique looking, and the. That guy was wearing a lot of prosthetics. I don't think all those were his actual muscles, but it looked so real.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but those engineers were kind of crafted or made to look like Greek statues and the Statue of David and stuff. So there's a lot of that kind of going on, philosophy in the background as well. So there's a lot of deep stuff you can really get into if you research some of this, the aspects of the movie. But anyway,
Certainly.
yeah.
Well, even the movie
scene,
title, right? Prometheus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool stuff to dig into. But yeah, the opening scene I thought really grabs you, and it's like, whoa, this is different. No CGI. It was all practical effect. Well, except when he breaks down and falls into the water. But the engineers themselves are practical effects and just look magnificent. And that's where Ridley Scott shines. He is such a good visual director, and he really crafts the scene well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely has like that big sweeping landscape look that both this and the sequel do pretty well.
Yes.
Like I'm always thinking of the sequel, like how it's got like the big, like the hill with the huge side of the mountain with the forest on it, and like the base with the lakes and the wheat growing out of it. It's very very picturesque.
I know wheat.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Was that big wheat or was that regular sized wheat? 'Cause that looked like really big wheat.
It did look like big wheat, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I didn't know wheat was that big. Like
at least slightly large, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Healthy wheat.
Yeah, there you go. Got no preservatives in that wheat. So.
No
Good land
GMOs.
out there. Good land. And it was wild wheat. Like no one was there. Like, anyways, we'll move on. I don't want to move on because that wheat was pretty good. I want to know more. This was she there long enough for them to need to farm food? We don't really find out in the sequel Covenant how long they were really there before the troubles started.
Right.
But I'm guessing David doesn't need to eat, or maybe he does eat wheat.
Well, if
do
you
they
remember,
eat?
If we're going to talk about that a little bit, I think that he was using vegetation and stuff as part of his engineering process. I don't know if he was using it necessarily for a source of food. Because if I remember right, some of the drawings and stuff was all plants and stuff like that. So he was just doing a bunch of life engineering, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but where would the wheat have come from? Was it? I guess maybe it was on the escape pod that's from this movie. I don't know.
That's certainly possible.
It's best not to dwell.
Yeah.
It's best.
That's a rabbit hole. If I've ever
Okay,
heard
so alien man creates life on Earth. Done.
Yeah.
All right, so leads to more or less modern day, where it's assorted. As archaeologists are finding assorted hieroglyphs, and they're all pointing to the same star constellations.
Yep.
Which is what leads us to the future of where the story takes place, where all these signs are pointing to a mysterious planet, and the concept is this rich guy, Waylon, wants to go to this planet.
Yep.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
Looking at my notes here, my notes are kind of fragmented. Okay, so basically, long story short, we have reason to believe that there's aliens over on this planet, and we got rich people in the future. Rich people have money, and they can afford to send a bunch of random thug scientists to nowhere, and let's do it. And so everyone's in cryosleep, and that's when you see David just doing what he can. I'm wondering if maybe being alone is what helps make David a bit off kilter in some ways. Because he's just in the ship alone. He's playing with his basketball. He's watching people's dreams because that's a technology that he can do in the future.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. That's another thing I hated. Stupid. Makes no sense.
It's not really necessary.
Cheap writing. First of all, you don't dream memories. And that's what he was looking at memories, not dreams, right? Have you ever had a dream that was just a memory? I haven't.
I had a dream where I made a really cool update for Monster Hunter World, and I'm mad that it doesn't happen.
But it was just stupid because, first of all, how could you ever possibly visualize someone else's dream? The technology could never possibly exist. It makes no sense.
And it wouldn't be
like
a TV screen either. It's kind of...
Yeah, exactly. It was just, the whole thing was stupid. And supposedly, it wasn't a dream. It was a memory of hers. But he claimed that he was watching her dreams. I don't know. That was just stupid to me.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. But I guess...
Could have developed that plot line in a much better way. That was just cheap writing.
Yeah, it comes back later in the story, but it doesn't really have any reason to. Like, he implies that he knew that her dad died the same way because he watched her dream about it and cryosleep. It's like, so what? Does this even matter? It doesn't really. It doesn't really.
Well, part of that dream sequence was to establish the whole religious aspect as well. But again, they could have done it in a much better way. It was just a dumb way to do it.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of the movie is about faith and what people choose to believe in versus what their science is leading them to find out.
I have problems with that as well.
Now, Duke is notoriously a religious figure himself, so by all means.
Notoriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest gripe is the way they handled that, which just really rubbed me the wrong way. It was just, again, you could tell it was written by somebody who's not religious, because it was just the dumbest way to handle that. And we're talking about the scene in her dream, right, where her father is watching some kind of burial ceremony, I think, right? Mm. And then Shaw, as a little girl, is asking her father, "Why don't you help them?" And he says, "Well, they don't want my help." And it had to do with the fact that he was a different religion and doesn't believe in what they believe. And so she asks him, "Well, why do you believe what you believe?" And he says, "Well, that's what I choose to believe. What do you choose to believe?" And I was like, roll my eyes so hard in the back of my head, because that is, anybody of faith that really has a faith of any kind is not going to tell their child to believe whatever they want. That means they don't have any faith. It's just stupid. And that's how a secular world might view a religious person, which came out in that writing. But that is not at all how a religious person would handle that conversation at all. So that really bothered me.
Interesting.
No person, if a person has a faith in a religion, it's because they believe that that's real and true. And their most valuable thing in life are their children. They're not going to tell their children, "Well, choose whatever you want. I'll take the real stuff. And I'll let you go astray with some other fake religion or some other thing that I don't believe is real. You just choose whatever makes you happy." It's just such a generic, cheesy thing to way to write that scene. It was just awful.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that, because, like, if you're a kid or whatever, it's like your parents have chosen a faith and it's what you've known your child life, and so be it. But then you suddenly find out that there's a sorted phase for people to pick from. Does that become an issue?
For who?
Well, for, I guess, the child, because suddenly it's like, well, I didn't know I could pick. Suddenly it's like, well, sports teams. It's like, well, you can like the Lakers.
And there's the breakdown in understanding, I think, I think a lot of people think someone that's religious, picks a religion that suits them, that suits their lifestyle, that suits their culture or whatever. And that's not how it works, at least not for me. I didn't choose my religion out of a pool of religions that I like the best. This is, to me, philosophically, is what makes them. It's the only thing that makes any sense to me. So that's why I gravitate into my religion, is because I think it's real. I think it's the answers to life. I think that's why we're here. I think that's where we're going. I think all that stuff is real and true. Therefore, I'm going to teach my children that this is this is real and true. This is what you use as a guide for your life. This is why this is right and this is wrong. There's no other. You have to have some foundation for your morals and for how you teach your kids right and wrong. So the notion that a parent would say, "Well, this is my value system, but you pick your own," they're going to conflict. And how you get a child that has conflicting value system? It's a stupid scene. I hate that scene. Sorry, you got me. You got me a little.
Oh, good. Here. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
I wanted you for this episode. So you're saying there's one right religion and then several wrong religions?
No. Well, obviously, a postmodern world would say that everybody's religion is right. Everything's just watered down and it doesn't matter. But anybody that really has a faith in a religion is obviously going to think that their religion is real, because otherwise they don't have faith in it. So obviously, in the end,
I like
there's
this
only
religion or sports teams concept, because that's pretty accurate. You wear the color, and you don't want to see other people wearing it. It's like when you go to I don't know sports. If you go like Canucks versus the Oilers, and you're the only one wearing a Canucks jersey, and then people get real angry at you, it's pretty much the same thing.
Well, the point of this conversation for me in relation to the movie isn't which religion is real. It's how a parent would handle their faith with their child, whatever faith that may be. That's what rubs me the wrong way. Certainly. So obviously, in the end, there's only one reality, one truth. Now, again, a postmodern world and some of our modern ways of thinking don't agree with that. They think that there's multiple realities, and you create your own reality. And I don't adopt that philosophy, but that's kind of where you can see that philosophy trying to also be a religious philosophy, and those two don't match up. So, just poorly written is really what I'm getting at.
Nice. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Also, I'm thinking, if I should stop the recording and start another one just in case, because we don't know what happens if it crashes.
Go for it. We're getting into some good stuff here.
Yeah, I don't want to lose it. I'm going to stop the recording, but we'll be right back in just a moment.
I'm going to go pee real quick.
Okay, that's even better. All right, this is an official recess then, everyone. So we'll be right back in just a moment with the CAPMAX MovieCast episode 3. Okay, we're back. Yeah, we're just checking. I was checking our recordings, and it might be recording very quiet, but on our call here currently live, it's actually quite loud. So apologies if the volume is crazy. Podcast recording is a pain in the ass. But anyways, we're back. Okay, so we're discussing the one true religion, which is clearly religion, and all the others are wrong. Okay, well, that's where this becomes fun, because this is all about whether or not if you found out there was a planet where everyone's God. Like, is this a different form of God? Like, if these engineers were to be discovered as a thing, like, is that still different than the quote unquote God that people of Earth choose to believe in?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, the movie even touches on that. They say, well, I think David's talking to Shaw, or no, maybe it was Holloway was talking to Shaw, and said, well, what if they're, talking about the engineers being their creators? And he was, I guess, mocking her for her cross necklace.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, doesn't that make you sad or something? And we found out who our creators are. And she's like, well, who made them? So you keep going back and back. And where does life itself come from? Not necessarily a certain being, but the concept of life and everything. Where does it all come from? And I think the movie being bold enough to at least touch on that a little bit is commendable. Again, I don't think they handled it very well, but I still give them credit for delving into that topic a little bit and not really giving you any answers. You still, as the audience, have your own thoughts and I guess make your own assumptions on that topic. So you get to be, I like that.
Yeah, it's funny because it makes you wonder what they're looking for then. Are they looking for the religious side of things or the scientific side of things? And I feel like maybe people on the ship are looking for different things. Some are there more for the money. Some are there more for science, certainly. The one true religion, money. Right. That is certainly accurate.
Well, Wayland, I think, did touch on that a little bit, like what his ambitions were, what his, I guess, drive was, and it was just because I can. I guess such an arrogant, rich person's attitude is, well, I've got the money, and I'm going to do whatever I want. But I think he, on some level, was interested to see his creator, in quotes, and he saw that as maybe the engineers, or at least where Earth life came from, or where he came from, just to find the answers to the big questions. Why? Why are we here? Where are we come from? Where are we going?
I don't think Wayland cares. I think he just doesn't want to die.
That's true. That you're right. You're right. That was the drive, I guess, the bigger drive. But I think he did touch on. He just wanted to know why,
what it's all about.
Yeah, what it's all about. I know that Shaw and Holloway definitely had that discussion a couple of times, and obviously you see that in David's questionable ambitions. Is the whole what is life and where does life come from? Where does it originate? So that kind of was threading through those characters, multiple different characters.
Mm-hmm. Makes me wonder how David perceives the concept of religion, if he sees it as this more mystical, magical thing versus where they're literally just like big dudes that lived a few thousand years ago. Whether or not he understands,
I think it's also important
him being a Robo-Man, whether or not Robo-Man understand the concept
Robo-Man
of
it's
religion.
Well, I think it's important to differentiate religion and like philosophy. They're two different things. Where what you believe about life and where everything comes from is not necessarily a religious. Religion is more your behavior and how you play out your understandings of your philosophy and your faith. So you can be a very strong Christian, for example, and not be very religious, or you can be very religious and not be a very strong Christian. So it is important to sometimes make sure you differentiate between those two things. And this movie does do that to some degree. Shaw's got her cross, and she talks about, I guess, her Christian faith on a very minimal level. But then there's also really a bigger picture of philosophy and where the bigger questions, where does everything come from? Why are we here, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's layers. It's fun to pick them up.
Yes, layers.
Religious, scientific, Robo-Man, engineer layers. Very good.
Good stuff.
All right, so we have these questions, and we take our $1 trillion ship off to a mystical map that just happens to exist in cave paintings. That's kind of weird, actually. I guess the engineers showed early man. Like, were they looking at a constellation? Or is that all it was? Or they just all happened to look at the same constellation? But I think it was. I guess they must have had contact, because why would they know to look at that constellation? Anyways, it's never.
I think that was the point. Was that the engineers have been? Remember, they said that early man was worshiping these large man-like beings. I think the engineers maybe were coming to and from Earth periodically throughout time, because they seem to have paintings of them, and they were pointing at the stars and stuff like that. So there was some interaction, I think, along the way.
Could be accurate too, because that is pretty much true with a lot of real life ancient murals and such, like the pyramids. I don't know, there's holes in certain spots.
Oh yeah,
or like really stars will line up with, which is pretty neat.
Oh yeah.
What were they up to? I don't know. We need to find out. Maybe they came and took them back. Much of the early man off in space already. What if early man and man are the aliens? What if they are pretty much accurate there?
Yeah.
What if we just came and crash landed? And then we fuck some monkeys. Hey, mix some DNA helps. Like those greys, the greys, the little flimsy looking alien dudes. Like, you can't do much when you're on a planet that requires gravity. I was listening to a podcast, the Joe Rogan show, and he was talking to an astronaut guy, and they were talking about how your body changes in 0 Gs.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the movie WALL-E. Like, remember the people were all in the wheelchairs, space chairs. It's really interesting. It makes you wonder if you were to go from a spacefaring civilization into suddenly being forced into one with gravity and all that, maybe you would need to, shave some time off the evolution by borrowing DNA from native species. Yeah. And I've always thought, I never really understood humanity's place on Earth. Because if you consider humans, where could you honestly see, the naked human man existing on Earth and really being able to accomplish anything?
Well, we've accomplished quite a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, but maybe that's because we already had that head start from space. Oh. We don't know, though. We weren't there.
Well, that's what this movie's kind of, playing around with, for sure.
Makes it think. Again, I'm just worried Skype's going to crash. We're going to... God damn it, Skype. I have these deep thoughts, and Duke's got to go in like an hour or something. All right, let's keep it rolling. All right, so the entire ship lands on the planet, which is kind of surprising. There's no drop ships or anything. Just the whole thing. It's just Prometheus. It just re-enters orbits and lands on planets, and they find this structure. They find these straight lines. Is that God does not work in straight lines.
Right.
So they land this ship. They find the map is accurate. There is indeed some form of structure, and they send the crew out to examine the thing. They got 6 hours before a silica storm, whatever, shows up. So we get into the wreckage, the ruins, whatnot. What do? We send our little howling robot mech bots to map this. That's pretty cool. I like that. Fun idea.
That's cool. Yeah.
Fun sci-fi thing. The guy's howling at them. Kind of crazy.
Oh, because he's edgy and he's aggressive and he's only there for the money.
Certainly. And then they find him off. What is it, they go down a level with ropes, I guess, and then there's water and moisture, and it's cold, but the water doesn't freeze for no particular reason. And then it's oh, hey, this air is super clean. We can breathe it. And it's okay, let me just take my headgear off because I'm a wild guy.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no reason for that, but whatever. Don't worry about it.
No.
It's just a movie. The actors got to show their faces so you know who they are. That's fine.
Alien, they kept the helmets on for a lot of the screen time in Alien, and it worked.
That's true. It didn't matter back then. There weren't that many actors.
I guess that's true.
And of course, actually cared. I mean, Alien, let's be real. Alien was just like a spookier version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's pretty much the same movie, except there's also that twist where instead of discovering super space travel and space babies, suddenly it's trouble.
Uh-huh.
The horror movie. But generally, I mean, they keep it very similar. A lot of the same themes of slow moving space, nice scenery. But anyways, that's another discussion for another episode. Where are we here? So, okay, you find the hologram log, which is the black box of their. It's not the ship so much. It's like a facility, an installation, if you will. And he pushes some magic buttons, beep boop boop, and then you get to watch the engineers running away because of trouble. And I guess the trouble was their jar spilled on the guy. Maybe is that the problem?
Yeah, they had an outbreak of sorts, I think, and they were panicking, and I guess they had a contamination issue, and that's what they were watching that play out.
It's unclear, but something along those lines. And then they find a goo containment room. Cool. And they find the body, which was decapitated, and they open the door, and then there's the head. And they examine, the goo. It's what is going on here? We've contaminated the room. The air pressure's changed and all that, and suddenly the goo starts to activate. But the ship calls out, we got a storm coming, ready to come back. We don't have time. We don't want to leave it there overnight. You got to get back. It's okay. So we take the alien head, we take some goo, and we run back. They almost lose the head. It's an action scene, but hey, everyone's back in the ship. Woo!
Don't forget one of my favorite parts is when David was secretly scooping up some of that, or taking those vials.
Yeah, he grabs one in his little.
Holloway's like, David, we are leaving. He's trying to pack him in the bag. I think that's a cool scene.
And of course, it's worth noting that the guy that does the maps got lost.
Right.
Yep. Silly
irony.
He's the thing is he's worried when he sees the holograms and the dead bodies. He's freaked out. Once again, it's what did you expect? Did you just think there would be nothing? He was looking for rocks. He says he likes rocks, but it's you're here to look for aliens, but don't worry about it. And he just he gets. How does he get lost? Even if there's static interference or whatever, you'd think he would have. No, don't worry about it. It's just a movie. Don't worry about it. You got
poor writing. Poor writing.
Okay, so what do? They look at the engineer head. They make it move a bit. Does that accomplish anything? They're just looking.
It was a cool practical effect, and that's it. That was honestly, I liked that scene visually, but it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's cool. They want to see what's going on with the goo on his head. Was that more of the black goo? Was the black goo him? And then it froze.
I think so. The head started kind of
Maybe that's why the door fell on him. Maybe they were trying to get away from that one guy.
Right.
Maybe. Who knows? It doesn't matter. Okay, and at this point, here's where things get interesting, because David, they were kind of mean to David. The main guy, was that Holloway, the guy?
Mm-hmm.
Been kind of an asshole to him the whole time. And David, he's got a finger's worth of the black goo that causes all the weird DNA changes. And he drops that finger in that guy's drink. And he's like, what would you do to discover your maker? And he's like, anything and everything. Well, that's worth drinking, I think. And then he drops the goo in the drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the name? Is it Holloway? I feel like that's
Holloway,
the one.
Yeah.
It's Holloway.
No, Shaw.
Okay, yeah.
Shaw.
It's tricky because they always use their last names, but every once in a while they use their first names as well. Anyways, okay. So then he infects Holloway with the black goo from the jar he took with him. And that infects him real quick, because then he has sexy time with Shaw. Unprotected sex.
Uh-oh.
Causes her, for surprise, she can't have kids. That's the only time it's mentioned. But now, because he's now powered up with black goo DNA and sperm, now they can suddenly make kids. Don't worry about it. It's just a movie. Just have fun with it. And then I'm just going by the notes here. So we got to ping glitch, the little dog bot found a door, which I guess is the door that leads to the ship. So maybe it was pinging the engineer that was still alive. That sound possible?
I think so. Yeah, or at least that
could have been
room
one of the
with all the
goose snakes just crawling around. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
And then they're like, what happened here? Why was there a goo outbreak? It doesn't matter either. Okay. Yeah, so they had their discussion about whether or not they found their god. Shaw can't reproduce. What's his name asks Vickers if she's a robot, but was she a robot? I don't think she was.
No.
I've heard
that's Wayland's
some people
daughter.
thought she was, but
Mm-mm.
it doesn't even matter if she was. Who cares? all these dead ends. It doesn't even matter. It's not a part of anything. Who cares? The guy gets stoned in the goo room. Goo snake. I'm literally just reading my notes here because I'm worried about it. We don't run out of time. Okay, so that's that part. Were we talking about that on the recording where he touches the snake? He puts his hand right up. Was that recorded?
Yeah,
I think we recorded.
I think so. Yeah, we were talking about that. That was dumb because he's a science officer or whatever, the biologist, and he acts like he's found some cute little critter instead of being amazed that he's looking at an alien species.
Yeah,
he's acting like an idiot.
It's
and
not
goes up and tries to.
Thing is like this slimy goo cobra thing.
Yeah.
Like coiling out.
Hey, little guy, don't be afraid. Hey, little guy. It's like, no one would act like that, especially some kind of a biologist. It was just so dumb.
It's an alien critter. You don't know what it does. Anyways, it grabs his arm. It rips his arm up. What do? They cut it off, but then it still has the acid for blood. Sort of. It doesn't seem like it does at first, but then the guy gets some on his helmet. And the helmet like sticks to its face. That's horrifying.
Cool,
like,
cool looking, yeah. And that could have been such a cool scene. All they had to do was have that thing attack them. They didn't have to have all the Gucci goo stuff before it, make it a stupid scene. But once the thing grabs his arm, it gets cool. That's a pretty cool scene.
And it bends his arm back and like his bones sticking out of his suit at one point.
Then it goes up into his mouth and everything. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, they cut it off, but then it just grows a new head from the bigger part, and then it goes into the body. Yep. So those guys are kind of fucked, and those are the guys that were lost. They got lost in the installation and did not make it back to the ship, which is why they're there now, being killed by a goose snake. Not a great way to go. The one guy doesn't die though, right? He just kind of. Like, why does he become like a weird bendy king? Like, why did that?
Fifield.
Yeah.
Another weird scene that doesn't make any sense is
cool, but
I guess they did it strictly for visuals, but they come out of the ship and he's like folded up like a lawn chair, and it's like he's just sitting there like in like a folded lawn chair position.
I love that. He's
like,
got his legs over his back and like.
But then how does he stand? Then he just stands straight up.
Yeah.
So it just
it could have been a CG bending thing, but
right. But it was just weird, and it's like, well, why would he walk up to the ship, fold himself up into a pretzel, and wait there, and then get up and start going on a rampage? I don't know. It's just kind of it did it for like the scene itself, but it doesn't make any sense when you think about it. To me. So
now I wrote on my
that was kind of weird.
That the goose snake was kind of a proto facehugger, but I don't think it really was. I don't think that's fair. It's its own creature. It's got nothing to do with any kind of xenomorph.
I think that was a defense for that room. That was those were there to, I guess, maybe defend the room because they were aggressive and they were swarming around all those vials and such.
Well, they might have been there all along. They might have just been like native worms to the planet, but then the goo got in there, and now they're
certainly possible.
Yeah, goo-ified into angry super. We don't know. It doesn't matter.
It could have been a common earthworm that got in contact with the goo, and that's what you get. A phallic cobra thing.
Yep. Yeah, it almost looked like almost even like flower stems a bit. Okay, so what do we got here? Oh god, the guy's got goo worm in his eye. That's after they have their little making, and the guy's looking at himself in the mirror, and you see the little goo worm in his eye. That's kind of gross. Cool scene.
This is a trope that Kevin often complains about. Is there's something wrong with him, but he doesn't tell anybody, right?
Yep, that's true.
And it's like, why do movies do that all the time? I agree with Kevin. It's so you see that a lot, and it's like, well, why would he keep it a secret? Next thing you know, he's got a worm crawling around his eyeball, and he's not going to tell his wife or his girlfriend or whatever. Like, heck yeah, I'm going to tell. That was weird.
Yeah. Like, we could certainly overanalyze, but it's not going to get us any positive results.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's just a movie. Just have fun, guy.
I'm just going with the overall theme of how bad some of the writing is all.
Certainly. For map guy. Okay. Dead with snake in mouth. Okay, yeah. So they find the one guy who died because the snake went in his mouth, and I don't know, it ate his guts or something, and he's dead. It pops out of his mouth. It goes back in the goo. So that's what is that? Yeah. Fifield? Fifield?
No. That was
the other guy.
What's his name? The biologist guy.
Milburn.
Yeah.
So Milburn's dead because a snake ate his guts, I guess. Charlie is sick from goo. Yep, that is accurate. Okay, what? My notes just skipped the entire weird caveman bendy scene. What? That's a good scene. Anyways, at some point, Fifield comes back because for some reason he now has become altered by the black goo, I guess. And then he, like I said, he gets back to the ship, but he's like this weird, crazy, bendy caveman, stickman. And he
very accurate.
Beats up some people, and then they kill him. And is that not? I guess it's safe to assume that that's the same thing that would happen to. God damn it! What's his name?
Holloway.
Yeah, the same thing probably would have happened to Holloway. Maybe.
I don't know, because again, every single aspect or display of this black goo does something different. I think there's so many different versions of it.
Still early in the transmogrification. We don't know what it would have become yet. But he knew something was not.
If you remember when Melbourne and Fifield.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what happened to Fifield. Oh, he had the helmet melt on his face from the acid.
He's the one that becomes the bendy cave sticker.
Right. So we don't know if he ingested some of the black goo that was in that room, or why he became this zombie alien bendy thing.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the same kind of goo that David put in Holloway's drink. That was what he got from the vial, which was the weaponized version that was going to be dropped on Earth to destroy it. So two different versions, I think, we're dealing with here.
Really? Two different goos, you say?
That's what I would think.
That's tricky, man. I don't know if I can accept that.
Well, what about the goo that the engineer drank in the beginning? Every single time we see it affect somebody, I think it's
the same goo every time. But,
no, because
we certainly don't know. Like, it's just black.
No, I think it's all different. I think that's the point. Is they are master engineers at biology, and they have this. They can make it do whatever they want. So, when the engineer drank it, he immediately broke down into, dissolved, basically, right? So that had a specific
drank a lot
purpose.
of it versus the one drop. But
so you've got that. You've got
it has a different effect on different beings. We can agree on that.
Yeah, you have the defense mechanism version in the room. You've got the weaponized version that Holloway had ingested into his drink. You have all these different versions of it. To me, that's the point. They are masters of this stuff. They can make it do whatever they want. They fine tune it for their purposes. That's the way I take it. It's not just one black goo. It's this whole. They can design it and use it for all these different purposes because it acts differently depending on the scene and what's happening and where it is.
I wonder, maybe the black goo in the one room that they saw the worms in. Like it looks like it's coming out of the jars like moisture, but then there's the other stuff that's it's in like little containers in the jar. That's the one.
And don't forget, we don't know that Fifield ingested any black goo. He just got that acid on his face. Yeah, from an alien.
Well, he fell down in the goo that the worms were swimming around in. So maybe so. But yeah.
But I mean, we saw I guess we didn't see that transgression or whatever, so we don't know if maybe Holloway was going in that same direction. But I would tend to think that two different things were happening. There are two different black goos.
Certainly. Certainly a possibility. Anyways, what do we got here? Dead with snake in mouth. Charlie's sick from goo. So then, what's her name? Vickers? She doesn't want any of that. She just sets that dude on fire. Seems a bit excessive, but you know, got to move the movie along, I guess. And then these notes don't make sense. Early. Okay, David finds a cockpit, map room, engineer and stasis. Okay, because he said he would find the one Dogbot was lost. He'd fix it.
Yep.
So then he finds where the map room is and the engineer, and that's when you get that neat scene with the big 3D maps. That's cool.
Yep.
Okay, and then after that, that's when they burn Charlie because he's coming back all sick. Mm-hmm. And then Shaw freaks out and passes out, and then she wakes up and surprise, you're pregnant. It's like, what? How is that even possible? I can't even have kids. And that's like, does that even make sense? It doesn't matter. she couldn't have kids, but now because of the black goo.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think she got pregnant. Like, I don't think a sperm fertilized her egg. I think just something is growing in her because she happened to get the organic goo, whatever, from Holloway in her vagina up into her belly. So that's where it's growing. I don't think she got pregnant. Because remember, he said it's not the traditional sense. So I think he just had an alien. He literally says she's
pregnant, but not a tradition. It doesn't matter. We'll never win these kinds.
So basically, I just took it that she's got an alien in her body, not necessarily that she got pregnant from like it's part her. Like an egg of hers dropped down, just happened to be ovulating at that moment, kind of thing.
That's the thing. Like if she's not making any kind of eggs, we don't even know. Like, once again, we don't have the details of her inability to reproduce, whether or not that's what causes it. Don't worry about it. It's just a movie. Anyways, she's pregnant. Whether or not it's her literal... Oh my god, this conversation. Whether or not it's literally her egg baby or not, it doesn't matter. It's a goo baby. It's coming out. And that's when... So, Vickers, she's not the captain, but she's kind of in command of everything. She likes to live in the escape pod for no particular reason. But in that...
Well, it's a luxury suite.
Yeah, it's cool. She makes her feel like a baller. She doesn't have the most faith for the trip. Once you know it, she just happens to have this nifty little device that's basically like a capsule doctor that can perform all sorts of operations. But curiously, it's set to male physique. You'd think, her being a woman, it would be set to a female physique. But don't worry about that.
I think that's because that was alluding to the fact that secretly Wayland was on board, and that's really for him. He's self-centered.
But so that was for his. Oh, he was there.
Yes, she did.
Oh, they all thought he was dead.
Not Vickers.
Yeah, she didn't know either. Well, we don't know if we don't know if she knew.
No. Vickers knew the whole time. She wasn't surprised by Wayland being on the ship.
Well, he's shifty, that Wayland. I mean,
but I think she knew the whole time. That was the whole thing. He and she. There was never a point in the film that I remember that she was surprised by him being there.
Yeah.
So that's
so used to being alive, anyways. Well,
I think that pod was his, not hers.
Could be.
That's why that's the whole little snippet there, a little Easter egg that why is this for a guy? Because Wayland's on here. We don't know that yet. That's the way I took it.
Could be. Well, anyways, she gives the computer vague commands for how to get this thing out, and sprays some goo on her to I guess numb the pain. Opens up real quick, grabs the squid baby, and then staples her shut. And she's got her little painkiller thingies.
Yeah.
And then it grabs the squid baby right out of her, and that part when it explodes out of its little its little egg sac, and then splashes into her wound. It's like, hey, no, you don't want that goop there. Anyways, then she gets stapled.
That was a good scene, man. That was intense and very well put together. That was a good scene.
Cool, very quick. A lot going on. It's pretty intense. And then we kind of just forget about the squid baby because
Yep.
I guess
Very
we're left
much
to
do.
assume that it's dead because they shot like I guess cold air at it or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
and the
sure
last time you see
you
it, it's
can't
just
see
kind of
it.
hanging there
Yeah.
still, so dripping. Yeah, so
So don't worry about that because the movie's moving along. And so then they let's see what happens. I mean, Goose Squid Baby, yep, Return of Fifield. Okay, this is when Fifield comes back at the zombie monster. Then he's torched. We went over that. Waylon's
Mhm.
back, and he said he wants to meet the engineer because he thinks that maybe it can grant him eternal life. There's no reason at all to believe that, but whatever, Rich guy got to do something with his time. Okay, so then they discover that the ship has a bunch of goo, more pots of goo, and everyone at this point, David's baller. He's like, I know how to work all this stuff. I've seen
Mhm.
like I can beep boop boop. I can play the flute. That it's like sound turns on the computer. Because sure, it's a neat idea. Okay.
Well, I was still a little bothered by. I know they tried to set that up in the beginning of the film where he was learning, what do you call it, reverse engineering languages back to the original language, which was the engineer's language, and that's why he knew how to read their writing and push their buttons. But I don't know, that was a little, to me, that was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
That, like, what even when he first came up to the throne room with all the jars and stuff, he climbs up on this ladder and starts pushing buttons and opens the door. Like, how would he know how to do that? So I just, that's a little bit of a stretch for me. They think they tried to push that too much, or maybe they didn't explain it enough. Because that,
Yeah.
in the
Well,
theater,
it's
you're sitting there
tricky
scratching your
because
head.
he's gotta somehow he's got to figure it out. But I don't think he really had any ideas for it either. I guess it's just because he saw the hologram black box thing, and I guess that's enough.
I don't know. And
Just
same thing
repeats
when he gets
processes he
into
saw him
the,
do. He doesn't do
yeah, when
all
he,
that much, honestly. He opens a door. He opens the guy's cryo sleep thing, the engineer cryo sleep. That's pretty much it. Like he doesn't do a whole lot more with the ship. Like he's not flying the damn thing. At least not yet, but we'll get into that in a second.
yeah, that's true. But you get the idea that he knows at least how to read things from them or knows what buttons to push. I don't know. They don't explain it enough for me. It's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah. At this point, once again, there's more a bit of character building with David because you wonder. It's like they ask, "What do you think you'll do once Leyland is gone?" It's like, "Well, I guess I'll be free." So you wonder if maybe he doesn't like any of this. Like, does he want to be there? Does he want to have to do any of this stuff? Is he being forced to do? Does he have an opinion one way or the other?
Right. And I think those are the questions they want you to dance around. Like when Holloway and him are having that exchange before he puts the black goo in his drink, he's kind of mocking David because he's not really alive. And then David's like, what is life? Or, he could tell he was emotional. He was upset that he said that about him. So he was like angry. So, is he doing this to Holloway because he's mad at him and doesn't like him? Or is he doing it because Wayland told him to see what would happen? You don't know. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about the character. You never know, like, does he want to be there? Does he like these people? Probably not, but he has to be there because that's what he was built for. And he probably finds it extremely ironic that he's going through pretty much the same thing they're going through, except he already has the answers and he doesn't like the answers, and these people are all assholes, and everyone's always an asshole to the robot people.
Deep stuff.
Mm-hmm. Fun to discuss on a podcast such as the CAPMAX MOVIECAST, though. All right, where are we now in the story? Kids want Wayland dead. That's true. Ship found with goo pots. Yep. So now they're on the ship for the installation that has all the goo pots, and they revive the engineer. David says some things to him, and yeah, engineer just doesn't have any interest in talking with them or communicating with them or doing anything. He just beats them all up.
Well, I don't know how deep you dove. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and read a bunch of articles. I actually read a lot of the comics that came out around the time of the film. So I dug really deep into some of the mystery of this movie. And there's a scene where he first wakes up out of the cryo sleep and David's talking to him. Well, there's no subtitle. You don't know what he's saying.
That's
Well,
true.
I think there is out there. You can find out what he's saying, and it's something that makes the engineer angry. And that's
I know
why he
there's a
looks
deleted
over.
scene where they do talk a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why he looks over at Wayland and gets mad because he looks over at David and sees that David is a creation of Wayland's and
Oh,
loses his stuff.
he wouldn't know that though. He just looks like
I
another
think,
human.
but I think that he knew that based on what David told him.
Maybe.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's not something you see in the movie. It's something that if you
Maybe.
read
But
the
we're just talking
script or
about the
something.
movie though. We're not talking about the scene. We're not talking
But
about comic
anyway,
books. Not talking about
either
web comics.
way, well, think about it. He knew that he could rip David's head off and then beat Wayland over the head with his head.
Did he?
Right? I mean, I think he knew at that point when he killed David that he wasn't human because he ripped his head off and then immediately swung it at Wayland and hit him over the head with it.
He didn't know.
You don't think so?
Ah. It could have been anyone's head he did that with. He was as close.
Fleshy human head wouldn't have.
All we know is that he wasn't in the mood to deal with humans or human type
yeah.
at the time, and he had a mission
Yeah.
to perform. The mission that we assume is for now, instead of creating life for Earth, now they want to destroy the life on Earth, or at least drop the goo on the Earth.
Mhm.
Pretty much
And
cause what happens in the next movie, but we'll get to that another time.
I think it's interesting how it seems like the engineers have a very dedicated, I guess, passion for their mission. Like, you know, in the beginning, the one sacrificed himself very willingly to see the planet. That was his mission. And this guy was in cryosleep, wakes up, and immediately gets back to the mission, which is they must have he took it seriously. They had to destroy the Earth, even though.
But we never know why. Like, Holloway, is it Holloway? Shaw asked him in English, like, why do you hate us now? What did we do?
Well, I think that we, as the audience, is supposed to think that humans are just screwed up. I mean, you know, they tried it, and look at the world right now. It's just such a mess. So I think that's kind of the message there. Is like the engineers regret creating the Earth, basically humans, because they're so messed up.
I don't know. I like that. I mean,
so now they got to reset. It's cyclical
just human
thing.
nature.
Well, it's this
Unfortunate,
idea of this cycle where you destroy, you create. In order to destroy or to create, you have to destroy first. That theme is throughout even the sequel. So I think that's it. You know, we start. It's fresh. It's new. It's good, and then inevitably it starts to decay, and we have to reset. And I think that's kind of a theme as well. And I think that's what the engineers were doing is the reset process.
Yeah, man. Remember, though, the movie ends with us literally going to their home planet to find out why they did all the things that they did.
Mm-hmm.
As far as this movie goes, once again, not counting webcomics or mangas or director commentaries, we don't know. Questions are not answered in this this topic. Okay. Anyways, he causes a bunch of trouble, and they're like, "Oh, well, we can't let this ship go because it's gonna kill Earth." And bummer. What can you do, right? Even if they didn't fly back.
Here we go. Here we go.
What can you do?
They do?
Gotta fly the ship into the alien ship. That's
another dumb writing, another cheesy writing.
Well, it's not. It doesn't have guns on it. It's just an exploration ship, I guess.
I know, but here comes the bad writing.
They do that a lot in Star Trek, too. A lot of ships smash into ships.
Yeah. It's not that they did that. It's the way it was written. These characters, like, cheesily just look at each other and smile and nod.
Yeah.
Like, yep, let's all kill ourselves. No discussion, no drama.
There's no time, and no time.
I don't know.
No time to discuss.
Do a better job writing that scene. So I even remember in the theater going, did they just all decide together to like commit suicide instantly? That's not how it works. You know, it was just a really a generic version of how that should have played out to me. You know?
I feel maybe they knew all along that the mission was pretty slim.
You can try to make sense of it. Yes.
Oh, I will.
You can say that. Well, even Idris how do you say his name? Idris Elba? Elba?
Like Idris.
The captain? What's that?
Yeah. Idris Elba?
Idris Elba. Okay. What's his character's name in the film? I forgot. I love him. He's awesome.
He's a fun guy. Janik,
yes. He's a cool character. He's great. I love his personality in the movie. He's a great actor.
kind of
But
corny.
he does allude to that. They try to kind of force you, like, it's kind of a throwaway line, but he says something like, "I'll do anything to save Earth" or something like that,
Yeah,
and
well,
that's where you're supposed
he
to,
recognizes it as being like a military installation. And I think he knew. I think he had been prepared. That's like, well, there's clearly some bad shit going down.
Yeah.
Once that ship is leaving.
So again, I think the concept of sacrificing the ship and themselves to save Earth is fine if it were a little more fleshed out. But this like 2-second scene where they all just nod at each other and smile and let's do this. Let's all hold hands and it was a good run. All these, like, it's just, that came off as a little whatever. So
no time. It seems like there's not a lot of people on the ship at that point either. We see a lot of random, like, nobodies get killed by, Stickman, Caveman, whatnot, but you never really, like, how many people are else on the ship? It doesn't matter. They're dead now.
It's just a handful. It's not,
It's hard to say. It's a big ship. Maybe even bigger than it needs to be.
We haven't said this yet, but what an awesome ship, right? I think it's a beautiful ship. It's cool looking, well designed. I love all the little vehicles they use when they get on the planet. Oh, just really great visually. Just awesome stuff.
Buggies.
Even the color scheme, the blues and the oranges and all, really, really good set design and costume design. Really cool stuff.
I do like the
movie
sail.
Is beautiful.
I do like the sail that the next one has, so that's cool.
That is cool.
The big solar sails. That's classy. It's
very. I do find it interesting. Just off topic, just a hair. Talking about the next film, how it took a visual hit. I think Prometheus is a much better looking film.
Could just be a budget thing.
I think partially it was. I think you're right, because even the CGI wasn't as good in Alien. What's it called? Covenant. Yeah.
There's not great as. There's really not as much sciencey stuff in that movie, though, is there? It's more nature scenes.
Yes. Yeah. There's not as much of stuff on the ship. Yeah.
But they did manage to fit an alien in there and have it kill people in the shower. That's another discussion for another time.
Yes,
all right. So it's like, okay, we're going to crash the ship because we don't have time to think it over. There's no time, Duke. It's going to escape and destroy Earth. So it's like, so you got that escape pod. You probably want to get in there real quick because I have no, he ejects her escape. So that thing, could it have flown away? It crashes when it lands and probably is wrecked. But
I don't think it's a ship. They described it as a life pod. I think it was designed to just sustain life. I don't think it could fly.
That's weird because she gets in what I would call the life pod, like the little escape pod, to get back to the planet.
Yes, the little human-sized thing, right?
I don't know.
But no part of there was no like extra ship on Prometheus that they could use to fly away. No, I think it was just a life-sustaining kind of unit, so to speak.
Oh, I think that's what that was because I get the impression that the ship she liked was the escape pod that could travel in space for a bit, but clearly at this point doesn't matter because it only only went from like up in the sky bit and then crashes down and smashes up. So we never really get to do anything anyways. But anyways, so they fly the ship into the other ship, and Vickers and Shaw are now both running away from the crashed alien ship, which is rolling towards them like a donut. Pretty funny. Of course, everyone always says, why didn't they run to the side of the ship instead of running?
You can't argue that. You watch that scene over and over, and you're like, all she's got to do is shift over to the side.
I don't know. It's hard to tell if there would have been time to do that. Because you'd think the ship would be huge, but I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really think of that during my first viewing. I think until it was pointed out to me by somebody else, I was like, oh yeah. Why didn't she just run the other way? But it didn't strike me the first time I saw it. Yeah, to be honest.
It's just a hilarious thing to point out.
Yeah. Well, when people these days are looking for things to point out that are so you're gonna get every little tiny.
We could spend hours and hours. But you don't have that time. How are we doing on time? How much time we got? We're on the last page.
Oh, we're good. We got 20 minutes or so.
All right. So running from crashed engineer ship, Vickers squish. Shaw lives. Hooray! She's only got a few minutes of air left because she's not in the facility that creates air. She's outside of it, so she's got to get to the bigger escape pod
Mm-hmm.
that may or may not be able to fly in space. It's unclear. Anyway, she gets in that pod, in Vickers' pod, and wouldn't you know it, her squid baby is still alive somehow. How did it get so big? What did it eat? There's no food. This is a problem I have with monster movies. Is how do the monsters get so much bigger?
Well, Steven, that was well established in the very first Alien film.
Oh my goodness.
The chest burster grew into the xenomorph like within hours.
Yep.
That theme has always been there in the Alien franchise. They grow quickly.
But how? You can't just create mass out of nothing.
Alien magic.
No, I refuse this magic. It's alien religion. They pray to their god. Something's amiss. It bugs me. They do that.
Well, I guess you could.
Resident Evil games, they do that all the time. There'll be a monster that just gets bigger. What? You shoot the eyeballs and it dies, and what happens? It just gets bigger. Why? How? It doesn't matter. But it's always angry. It always makes me.
Well, honestly, that never bothered me about the Alien franchise. I never thought that's stupid how it gets big fast. I just always took it as, I don't know, kind of.
I don't even have a problem with the speed it matures, but just what is it eating to get that extra mass? One does not simply create mass out of the air unless it's literally full of air.
Black goo milkshakes, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe
protein shakes.
Yeah, I know it's not something.
Yeah, again, that's one of those things you could certainly scratch your head. But I mean,
this thing was huge. It went from being like the size of a woman's, like, I don't know, newborn baby size, more or less, to suddenly bigger than the engineer by doing nothing at all, by simply existing. But don't worry about it.
I never even thought about this until you brought it up. That's pretty funny. I mean, I knew it grew fast, but you're right. That's pretty big in that short amount of time.
And muscular. Like you don't just grow muscles. Like it was stronger than the engineer. Like how did you do this? What is your magic?
Well, they are biological masters. They designed these creatures to, what about the clones in Star Wars? You want to go down a rabbit hole? They grew fast, didn't they?
I don't want to talk about anything. No, I bought this fish monster toy from Value Village yesterday, and it turned out it was a Star Wars thing. And here's something for your religion. The fish monster toy that I bought was in a baggie, and I bought a different baggie because there was a Ninja Turtle toy in it. But in the Ninja Turtle baggie was also the Qui-Gon figure that came with the fish monster.
Wow, that's not a coincidence, Steven.
Mind blown. God works in this.
Hey, remember those things when we were kids? You like the dinosaur, like little foam thing. You put water on it and it grew real fast. There you go.
Maybe there was no water in there, but maybe
you got it in that little egg at the supermarket.
Yes.
There you go.
That's the only thing I can assume. Is like if you want to get nitpicky,
just add water.
It's full of water and air. But even still, like the substance that it would need a physical material to make more skin, but don't worry about it. It's just a movie. We're just having fun. It's just a podcast. Anyways,
it's life.
That's life finds a way.
Accelerated life. Yeah, accelerated life.
Anyways, the engineer survived the ship crash. And hey, what's this? An escape pod? Are those nasty humans in there? Can I cause some more trouble? Because it just hates humans. It just wants to beat up humans. And then it finds Shaw, and they have a little duel. I think she like hits him with her axe, which is a cool looking axe. And then they tussle a bit. And then she's at the door where the squid baby is in. And then she opens the door. And then, oh my God, it's a giant squid monster. And oh, the engineer has to fight it. No! Whoa! And whoa! Now engineer is fighting squid baby, and Shaw is able to escape. Neat.
Cool scene. I like that one as well. Great effects.
Monsters fighting monsters. I dig it.
Yeah. You get a real sense of weight in that scene if you notice. Like that thing seems like it's heavy.
Yeah. Like I said, it's full of the food it found in that med bay. And it's super buff now. And they wrestle and tussle. And I guess is that does it do the face hugging thing at that point, or is that after?
Yeah. Remember it something like it. Remember it shoves a a tendril or a tentacle down the engineer's mouth.
Yeah, like when they're still in
And
that
then the engineer just kind of goes still, and just you see this like thing in his mouth. So yeah, in a sense, it got the
Yeah, see, that's where I was
implantation.
wondering is whether or not that's the same creature as the snake creatures, because the snake creature does the same thing, or maybe it doesn't, because the snake creature just goes in the guy's body. But
Yeah,
no,
I
they're
don't think
separate.
it's
They're
the
separate.
same.
I don't like it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Shaw still
Well,
alive.
I think that the idea, and I think this is part of the whole, reading outside the lines or delving into some of the other stuff, is that particular tentacle creature was the first of its kind because it was part human from being in Shaw. So that was a brand new alien.
Yes, that is true.
And then ultimately they're trying to tell you where we got to the original xenomorph and face huggers from the original film, I think. And so humans were involved in that that process, I think.
It's a cousin, but I don't think they ever go back to this planet again, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, it's not. This is not the same planet or anything.
Yeah.
No.
It's not the same planet from the second.
No.
It's a one and done sort of situation that they only knew about because of hieroglyphs. Because drawings. Okay, so Shaw gets help from the head of David, and they're able to fly the ship. Cool. And they head off to find the engineer's homeworld because they want to know why they want to destroy Earth. What did we do wrong? And neat, good. And then you see the proto-alien creature pop out of the engineer, and it's like, rah! End of movie. Cool. Yay, movie.
Yeah.
And, there's your movie.
Cool scene too. I think that's at least partially a practical effect. That's a puppet. That xenomorph-esque creature. Which I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, did they just kind of redesign the xenomorph? But then I kind of came to realize it's not the same exact xenomorph because it's two different creatures.
Yeah. Does it even have human mouth? I don't remember.
Well, yeah, but in a different way. Like it wasn't like the little mouth came out. It was like its jaw extended. It was slightly different.
Yeah.
But it was a cool scene with the flickering, strobing kind of light. It was visually, again, beautiful. Really cool looking, Great effects in this film.
So the alien, I guess, survives and lives on the planet for a little while. Maybe it finds the facility, eats worms, and lives a happy life. I don't know.
Yeah, that's when we need to see Prometheus 3. What happens on that planet with that alien? I want to see that.
We should go there
next in a comic.
Fun fact: apparently, that waterfall at the start of the movie is a real waterfall from Iceland.
Huh.
The Dettifoss waterfall.
Really?
Two T's. Dettifoss is a waterfall in northeast Iceland. Cool beans.
That whole opening sequence too of the opening credits shot was really well done as well. You just see all the kind of sweeping shots of the clouds and the landscape, and you come to that waterfall. Great stuff.
Yes. It's funny. I'm just looking through the wiki here for the stuff we can discuss for we end this, but the theme, the
oh, I love the music too. We didn't talk about that.
Like it's optimistic. Like I feel bad because the music clearly wants us to feel like this is a great thing that's happening. This voyage to discover our origins. Like it's unfortunate that the troubles happen instead, but clearly, they all had that optimism of the pioneering spirit that the world today sorely lacks in. We have nothing to work towards, in my personal opinion. That's another discussion, but they want you to feel optimism and hope, almost even like in a Star Trek-ish kind of way, even though you're watching an alien movie, and troubles are going to be around the corner.
You know what? That's a very good point. That theme is very Star Trek-y. You're right, and it's a great theme. I like the music a lot in the film.
And it's funny because in the next one, the theme is like literally two notes. It's just like a bird creature.
Yeah. Right.
It's like a weird spooky.
Yeah.
Like what is that thing? Is it a life form making that noise? And they say that there's no birds because the aliens in that movie ate all the life forms, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. But anyways, that's another discussion for another time. By all means, if you do want to do this again, we can certainly touch upon Alien Covenant next.
I would love that because I really like that film a lot. I've seen it like maybe 3 times. I'd love to see it a couple more times to dive a little deeper into it, because that, I don't know if I like it better than Prometheus, but it's definitely really, really a really good film. I liked it a lot.
It's tricky, right? There's definitely stuff to discuss, especially with the new David and how they have their own different views and how they're literally built
so
differently.
Cool.
So how do you feel about how do you feel about David in this one? Do you think I don't think he's necessarily a villain yet. He's just doing his own thing. Like, he doesn't care about the people because I feel like they don't care about him, so he doesn't feel any real loss
I
towards
never got the sense that he was a villain. No, I more sympathized with him than saw him as a villain, for sure. No, I don't think he's supposed to be a villain.
Yeah.
Not in Prometheus anyway.
Yeah, he's almost like that's the thing, is like they talk about robotics nowadays and people losing jobs because robots and automation and all that, but those aren't like this. Like, those don't think, they're just machines. Like, the question is what happens when you give a machine the ability to think and feel, and like whether or not David does actually have feelings. Once again, not unlike Data from Star Trek. It's like how...
Well, I've always liked Ridley Scott's approach, both in the Alien franchise and the name escapes me, the Harrison Ford Blade Runner franchise, how he deals with his AI. It's not really like robots. It's more like organic, more like clones than they are like they're called replicants in Blade Runner, and they're not called robots in the Alien franchise. I don't think they call them. Do they call them androids? Maybe? I don't even know what they call them.
Synthetics sometimes.
Yeah, synthetics androids, maybe, or something. But it kind of it's a further along process than like a robot or like in Terminator or something would be. It's not metal and gears.
I just call it that because it's fast.
Yeah, I know. But I do think that's interesting how he takes that in a little bit of a unique direction with his AI, if you want to call it. He dances around with life more than he does with it's a technology. It's like, is this alive? Is this, does it have a soul? Is it, is killing it called murder? That kind of a thing. I like how he plays with that, with his robots, if you want to call them that.
You never really know. Once again, it's just a fun thing to make you think about in the movie.
Definitely.
They're definitely not like...
Well,
I'm trying to think of a good example. I thought of a Dalek and then 3PO, and it's like, I don't know enough about these things to really...
Well, it's a call... David is a more fleshed out version of Ash, because in Alien, you think his motives are largely driven by his programming. He was told by Wayland to do this and to do that. But then when he's decapitated, you can see that he's impressed with... he's talking about how the alien is perfect. And you can see in his face and his expressions that he's intrigued and he's kind of emotional about that as a robot. So that's a very deep scene in Alien, and it's just a robot, but he's kind of like dancing around with, he appreciates this good, perfect organism, maybe compared to himself. So I think Ridley Scott seems to always have had an interest in that. And I think that's really, he fleshes out even more in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which I really love.
Yeah, he probably really appreciated the chance to delve deeper into that side of the story.
Yep.
Really helps it give it like more of a spin-off feel as opposed to a straight up prequel. Just a fun direction. Yes. But of course, then I think the troubles came in when then people were like, well, this isn't Alien at all. It's, like, it's not supposed to be. But the people, though, they want the alien.
The box office numbers didn't help.
Make that money.
I think it actually, Prometheus didn't do that bad, but it wasn't the smash hit, I guess, that they wanted it to be. And I think it took them a lot to convince them to make Alien Covenant, and that did even worse, I think. So
probably
that kind of put the nail in the coffin, I think, for the franchise, at least for now.
Yeah, it's too bad because they clearly have more to tell us.
It is too bad, and I'm not giving up hope yet. There are talks of another one with Ridley Scott at the helm. But honestly, I'm fine with what I would consider the trilogy, Alien, Prometheus, and Covenant. I think they're all great movies in their own right, and I'm satisfied with those three films. I want more, of course, but I am satisfied with those three films together. They give me enough fulfillment and enough closure to say, okay, this is enough for me. Because Ridley Scott is old. He's like in his 80s now, I think. So I mean, he's not going to last too much long. If they don't hurry along this
like
next
Wayland.
film, we're not going to get one. And
He
honestly,
needs
I'm
an
not
angry
very
daughter
interested.
to take over.
I'm not very interested in a non-Ridley Scott Alien franchise, to be honest with you.
I like that they gave everyone a shot at the aliens with the 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's fun seeing everyone's take on things. No,
I like the second one.
I like
what they did with I like James Cameron's approach for sure. It's a classic. I love that movie. But after that, I could have forget it.
I like 3 and 4 too. It took balls to make Bishop into a villain.
Mm-hmm.
If you heard my theory, right? I've gone over it before, but I think Bishop planted the alien egg in his ship somewhere in Aliens. Yeah, that's right.
You're talking about the third movie, right?
Yeah.
I can't even barely remember that movie. It was so weird.
Because at the start, there's like it shows people in the cryosleep, and then there's this egg in the corner, clearly visible. Like, why didn't you look over the ship for eggs? But no, it's just right there.
That's
the only
good,
way it
Steven.
got in there.
You're on to something.
Bishop when he was moving the ship around because the landing pad when they were rescuing Ripley and Newt. He was flying around because it was unstable. But maybe he went down and grabbed an egg. Because his program told him that you got to get that alien back. We need that alien.
Get on the internet and write about it.
We're doing it right now. The podcast goes out on the internet.
There you go.
That's all right. That's good times. And I think that about does it for this episode of the CAPMAX MovieCast. We did it. Nothing has crashed.
That was fun. This is a great movie to break down and talk about. There's so much to it. There's a lot to like and a lot to not like, and that's a movie that's fun to talk about to me.
Mm-hmm. How are we doing on time? We got time?
We got a couple minutes. We're good.
All right, cool.
No rush.
All right, well, I'm rushing anyways because I want to do stuff too. I haven't even left the house. I slept in. But yeah, before we sign off, not unlike the Hypecast, is there anything you're looking forward to watching as far as movies or shows on Netflix or anything? Anything you want to give more?
I'm looking forward. Yeah, sure. Speaking of Netflix, I'm looking forward to the next installment of the Castlevania animated series. That's coming soon, I think.
I think it's a month.
Yeah. So that's gonna be fun to look forward to. I really liked. I had my issues with it, but overall, they were definitely fun. As a Castlevania fan, they're fun to watch. So looking forward to the third season of Castlevania.
Did you ever play the PS2 game? Curse of Darkness, I think it was.
No.
Because the guy that makes the monsters, the human guy that worked with the vampires, he's the main character of that game.
Oh.
So, like, the show is a lot better if you know more about that game.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I thought it was widely based more on Castlevania 3 and Symphony of the Night.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. But at the same time, that guy has his own game as well.
Okay.
And it's a good game. People don't talk about the PS2 Castlevanias that much, but in my opinion, they were both pretty good. I think there was only the two.
You know what? I'm going to go see if I have a couple of, or I think I have a Castlevania PS2 game that I've never played before. Let me just take a quick look here.
I think that was.
Do I have a Castle? I do. It's called, I got it right here. What's it called? Castlevania Imminent of Innocence?
Imminent of Innocence.
That's like a PS2 Castlevania game. I got it right here in my hand.
Let me see. Oh, Lament of Innocence.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's got that weird writing. Lament of Innocence.
Yeah, that's the first one. That one it's not as good as the one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about is Curse of Darkness. That's the one that has the guy from the show as the main.
Yeah, I'll have to seek that one out and check. Yeah. Give my PS2 some love.
There you go. I think Lament of Innocence was a retelling of something. It's been a while. I don't remember the details.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I'll check that out.
If you're in the mood for a PS2 Castlevania, do check out the one I'm recommending, which is Curse of Darkness. Lament of Innocence wasn't bad either, but I think people didn't like it because there was a lot of like empty space, a lot of running down hallways. Like, it just didn't feel as full of a game. You know how it is with the internet. All it takes is one person saying that thing, and then everyone's like, "Oh, that game probably sucks." So, see, the thing is, it's easier to just assume a game sucks and move on because there's too much to pick from, and it's just if people can just be told something sucks and not worry about it, that's what they'll do. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Our embarrassment of riches when it comes to show selection. But yeah, all right, very good. There's a Dracula series on Netflix I have on my wish list. So that might be
a live action or animated?
Yeah, live action.
Oh, you know what? Wasn't STC Pod Joe talking about that? I think, yeah. I think he was talking about that. So maybe I'll check that out. I always I like monster stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think it's it's like prequel-y kind of talk, like who he was, what he was going. Maybe it's a bit like the Bram Stoker, but more of it. Hard to say. I don't know.
I love that movie. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's one of my favorites. Good stuff.
Besides from that, I guess just looking at my DVD collection here, I was watching the anime Record of Lodoss War on DVD, so I should probably finish that. It's very much a Dungeons and Dragons anime. Literally like elves and dwarves and magic and dragons.
Gotcha.
It's very it's not complicated, you know what I mean? Like I was playing Arrow Fighters 2, which is an earlier shmup, and there's not it's not like bullet hell or anything. It's just, you get power-ups, you get bombs, you avoid stuff, you shoot stuff. It's simple, it's to the point. And that's a good thing sometimes. Stuff gets overly complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a simple shmup or a simple anime, Dungeons and Dragons, cool. That's all I need.
Yep.
And I guess that's about it. I also have the movie Tunnel Rats, which is part of my Uwe Boll movie collection. I picked that up from a thrift shop, so I guess I should watch that. I don't know if it's good or bad. It's probably awful, but I don't know. I'm going to watch it and tell you if it's good or not. I haven't seen it yet.
Tunnel Rats.
Yeah. It's about Vietnam and the Troubles. Always about the troubles. Mm-hmm. All right, let's wrap her up. So, Duke, once again, thanks for being. If you want to tell the folks again where they can find you on the social medias and YouTube and all that.
Sure. Twitter again at Duke0619. I'm on there, pretty often. And then I try to pump out a video a month on my Retro Nonsense YouTube channel. And currently my main drive is my Stuck in the 80s series, which I'm really having a lot of fun making. And so check that out. My kids are a lot older now, so you don't see them too often on the channel anymore.
That's true.
It's mainly just me. So, but yeah, I still have fun making my videos and interacting with the community. And I appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry for the delays earlier. The holidays were kind of crazy for me, but I appreciate you having me on anyway. And this is a lot of fun to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah, tricky time for sure. Although I did see that you and Curtis were able to record a podcast. Sorry, I don't have
priorities.
I don't have the guy that made Prometheus here to talk with us today. Yeah. No, I did what I could. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's all good. That's the thing about the internet. There's always time.
Yep.
Apparently, I haven't recorded one of these in like a year or two, so.
Well,
so we're right on schedule, really.
Well, like I said, if you want to talk about Covenant, I'd love to do that. So yeah, I'd be up for that for sure.
We're still experimenting with the best way to record this stuff. So
yeah.
Fortunately, Skype has not technically crashed once yet. So thank you for that, Skype.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly watching every second as it records. It's always such
nervously.
These things. But yeah, thanks for being here. And of course, I am Steven. Everyone, thanks for listening to this latest episode of the CAPMAX MovieCast. Check me out on YouTube under the CAPMAX Gaming channel, where I just uploaded a new toy review. No music, because as we were talking about earlier, I'm afraid to use any music on YouTube because it's such a pain in the ass. And check me out on Twitter at Steven Eider, Steven with a V, EIDHER. You can see what silly thing I bought that day. Hear me talk about jobs that suck and not working, and eventually I'll be working again. But not for now. I'm on vacation. Woo! And that's it. Cool. Good stuff. Well, once again, thanks for being here, too. And thanks for talking some Prometheus with me. And hopefully we didn't forget too much stuff. That's always a thing. You're like, oh, I forgot to mention this and I forgot to mention that. But I think we did a pretty good job.
I think we dove pretty deep. I think we did pretty good.
Perfect. All right. Everyone, thanks for listening. And hopefully we'll hear from you next time. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, Duke.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. I'm pushing the button. Bye.